bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Daddy's going on stage.
Yes, Daddy's going on stage.
Cool.
Do you remember this day?
Daddy, you're very, very cool.
Then this.
And right up the middle for a touchdown, Saquon Barkley.
How about this guy? Remember the adversity?
Hurts. He throws the football, and it's dropped.
They got all this talent, and they out here looking mediocre.
And how they dismissed us?
This dude is a clown. Like, seriously.
Do you remember the response?
And the Philadelphia Eagles have won their 10th game in a row.
Remember this hit? This catch? This jump?
This crazy.
Remember the dogs?
We going to the ball! Oh!
And the legends?
I got Ray, he gonna strap you.
Remember draft day? How they play? Remember the setbacks?
I'm out for the year.
Next man up. Remember Landon?
You know what I choose violence. It's playoff football from Lincoln Financial Field.
And now the hunt.
He's gonna go! 10-5, touchdown!
Remember last time? And the pain. Remember the win? And the trophy. It's our time now.
Now, there is no other way to start the show with a couple of momentous videos, that being one of them. And this entire season, I did not play not one hype video, not a one from the Eagles. Now, call it dumb, call it superstition, call it whatever you wanted to, whatever. All I know is even this, I had left this at home because I didn't want to sport the one and only one that we had. And to get this back and now to have two is better than the first. So there are many things. And by the way, this is the Nick Foles Super Bowl ring that, of course, the guys had their names on it. I chose the one with Nick Foles. And it's because it was a team effort to make things happen. What happened on the gridiron last night was a dominant performance, period. There's no other way to say it than just that. I had mentioned last week, and I mentioned on the pregame show yesterday, the Eagles would win 45-21, and the final ended up being 40-22. It's one of those feelings that I kept saying over and over and over again. It felt like 2017, and it sure as heck did. And I am so happy to say that the Eagles are now two-time Super Bowl champions. I'm not even going to talk about next season because right now, just like everybody else, everybody's just going to enjoy this win. You have to enjoy the win. There's no other choice but to enjoy the win. For some folks, they may not. For some folks, they don't care. And I will tell you who the ones that don't care, Giants fans don't care. You know why? Because they're upset of letting Saquon go. But great for us. And even though he didn't have the dominant night that he wanted to, it didn't matter because the defense came and destroyed Kansas City. No one has ever seen Patrick Mahomes the way that he was, where his face was just down, his lips was down, the pants shot over to Taylor Swift that no one really cared about. Great performer, great person. Don't get me wrong. It's got nothing to do with her. It has to deal with because she's originally from the area. And yes, we all know, every one of us knows that she's dating Travis Kelce. Was Travis Kelce even the same? Of course not. He wasn't. No matter which way you look at it, he wasn't. And with that, thank you all for tuning in to Martinez Company here live this morning on the Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 The Game. Don't forget you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And before I get to another dominant performance, that in my opinion, for those here that live here locally, there was a team that played on the pitch on Friday. And to me, that dominant performance, and I'm going to show that hype video as well, is the reason why it gave Philly just a little more oomph that they needed to be able to win. But Trevor starts off with, let's go indeed. Super Bowl champions 2024 for the second time. Thankfully, we only had to wait 7 years, and let's hope we don't have to wait for another 7. And for some people, like Rick shared with me this morning, some people feel like it's just not the same that we had seen back in 2017, but it's because we had waited 52 years. We had waited just forever to be able to get that first, and now to be able to get this one. And I mentioned it even back in 2017, to be the best, you had to beat the best. The Patriots were a dynasty team. We didn't forget about 2004-05 in Jacksonville, and we proved the point with Dougie P once again to be able to dominate and win. And as you guys saw, everybody was always going to remember Philly with Nick Foles. Patriots tried it. Apparently, we only come to find out later on that I guess Tom Brady didn't want to play because his hand wasn't as best he should. That's what was told to us. But nonetheless, it is back to back. Belt to ass, blow the whistle. Yes, Trevor, indeed. Just in dominant fashion. Joey B says, good morning. Congrats, Angel. Congrats, Philly and the Eagles. Impressive win. Kansas City never knew what happened, what hit them. Well deserved. Listen, and how many mocktails did Angel drink last night? If a mocktail would be a Coke, then I had 2. I had 0. And my wife was with me as always. Obviously, Rick Marcus as well. But I had 0 alcohol whatsoever. Not because I didn't want to. It's because I didn't have it the first time around when I watched the Eagles win in 2017. So I didn't want to. And 2 years ago, I didn't have any either because I had even iced tea, I think, that night. No way. I want to enjoy everything. I want to enjoy it, soak it in, just like everybody else. Joey B says, odds that Angel Deb took the golf cart out on the town last night. Brilliant Eagles fight song. No, I wish. We got home in the wee hours of the morning, but no, that'll happen today, though. The neighborhood will hear us. Believe me, I will be blaring it. I know she's probably going to yell at me, but it's fine. It's one day. Doesn't matter. My neighbor's used to it. It's no big deal. Matter of fact, my neighbor across the way here, Steve, I can't wait to freaking talk to him a little bit later on because the same way, big Eagles fan, along with my dad and my family. My sister was actually the first one to call last night. I couldn't hear her because of all the noise out there at Tampa Joe's, but thank you to my sister, who I appreciate it. Of course, we are lifelong Philly folks. Joey B says, glad to see Philly didn't burn to the ground. The city of brother love is back. Great to see you in Philly. Yeah, listen, and I know that's what... Man, in the news, they were digging for stories. Goodness gracious, were they digging for stories? Good thing they didn't find anything because, once again, we know how to celebrate. Joey says, wouldn't it be ironic if Carson Wentz ended the Super Bowl for the Chiefs against his old team? It would have been. And there was a bunch of people that said that. Truthfully, a lot of people had said that. Me, didn't care for it. It was just, again, it was a tremendous feeling. And not only that, but also, let's remember, too, that Patrick Mahomes had a 11.4 QBR rating. I have never, in seeing Mahomes in his short career, have never seen him the way he was. Travis Kelce's just done. Nice guy, part of the Kelce family. You know, again, when we were down there in Vegas the year before, man, I wish we were down in New Orleans this year. But you know what? It was fun being home. and being here in Tampa with everybody last night, there had to easily be over 1,000 folks, if not plus, between the restaurant, the bar, the outside especially, because they do things right. Mike Goodwin does a great job to make sure that we are within codes, make sure no one goes home or gets ejected or any of that stuff. Everybody celebrated. Everybody was cool. They made a ton of money thanks to the men and women out there at Tampa Joe's for the job that they did, because man, it was a standing room only, especially outside. There were so many people. It was just a sea of green. Even it was funny because as they did the flyover at New Orleans, there was a plane that actually flew over Tampa Joe's, and people were asking Mike, did he set that up? He goes, oh, yeah, I called air traffic control to make sure he did it at the same time, and the place erupted. It was just, man, I as much as I love being in Philly, Tampa Joe's, it was like being back home. Honest to God. The only thing that was missing for us is just go down to City Hall. That was about it. Other than that, that was definitely it. Where's Fuji? Is he still partying? We need a Fuji segment. I don't know where Fuji is. He probably didn't go to work. Just like a lot of people today turn out to be having a bird flu. They'll have it tomorrow whenever the parade comes around. I know the weather's not going to be that great in Philly, but nonetheless, is anybody going to worry about it? Nope. I know the NFL loves to have the parade at least 2 days out from the Super Bowl, because then they close the calendar year, get ready to start things up. And truthfully, I think this is the fastest I've ever seen a draft combine come around, because it is the 27th of February to March 2nd. I myself will not be at the combine. I'll watch it from home. Like Pete said this morning, I don't think it intrigues me that much to make the trip to Indianapolis to go out there. I don't know. I'd rather be at the draft, honestly. I'd rather go to a draft like we had it in Philly. I mean, last year, Detroit did such an outstanding job. What is it? Wisconsin, Green Bay is hosting it. And from what I understand, it's not that big, but that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm quite sure it's going to be a ton of fun. But you know what? Again, it's going to be a great time. We're going to see how everybody does in the draft. There's a lot of things that went on. But I also want to bring up this video, as I mentioned early on. And I want to play another one too. And sometimes you get a little bit choked up with stuff you see from before in the past. Gas Pump Guy, GBG says, good morning, my brother. Happy for you on the championship. They really deserve it. I appreciate you, Gas Pump Guy. I really do. Missed you last week. I know you had a lot of training to do last week. But man, I tell you what, this was outstanding. And there was a couple of Bucs fans that ended up showing up, and some of them because they are dating someone from our side of the house. And Bucs fans, they walked in, no one booed them, nothing. Everybody was welcome. We had a Detroit fan. I talked to him. That was Brandon Williams. He stopped by to talk to us. Raphael spoke to us before, and I think he had predicted like 45-21, if I remember correctly. It was just, listen, it was a tremendous night for Philly. It really was. But I want to play this because on Friday night at Corbett Stadium, you would never think, the way these ladies played, you would never think that it was the first time that they were playing. Like, this school's history would have been so enshrined that the women's lacrosse would have been playing there for years. No one expected a 19-6 rout, 6 unanswered straight goals by USF lacrosse women and Coach Minnie McCord. Even a post-game presser you guys can see there on Twitter. I'll have it up later on the website as well. But it was just a dominant performance. And to me, and it's just me, because again, I live here locally in the area, and I love to take care of USF. To me, this was the actual dominating factor of why the Eagles ended up winning yesterday. just say that Coach McCord and the rest of the ladies should all be extremely, extremely happy of what they accomplished on the pitch. It was, when I mean it was dominating, it was absolute domination. First goal, historic goal ever for USF women's lacrosse. And again, they should be extremely, extremely happy. Juliana George was the first one to get the goal, to get basically the party started out there at Corbett Stadium. There had to have been easily, I would say, way over 1,000 folks. The grandstands were full. The bleachers were full. The berm was full. It even spilled over to the other side, the other berm where the band was playing. By the way, the band performed so well. Even Kennesaw State was enjoying what the band was throwing down. But there was no one harassed. That's the beautiful thing about going to USF. No one harasses one another. And there was Kennesaw State represented. They had a good amount of fans that ended up coming there. But in the end, they gave their congrats to USF. It was just such dominant play on the pitch. Caitlin was the second goal for USF. Maggie was the third one. Juliana scored the fourth goal, the second of the match. Caitlin Tartaglione, if I'm saying the name correctly. Maggie Newton, and then you had Juliana with the second goal. Fifth goal was by Allison Harbaugh, which you guys know that is Coach Harbaugh from the Baltimore Ravens. His daughter plays on USF lacrosse team, and he was there. He was there. I didn't get to see him myself only because obviously I was paying attention to everything that was going on during the match. But yes, he was there. And it was the assist by Juliana George, the first one. Ava Uphughes was the sixth one. And then the first goal with 3:13 left in the first by Kennesaw State's Hannah Davis. She had to think about it. 6 straight goals from a team that played for the very first time. When I mean these ladies were on fire, that energy, they ran, it seemed like a 40-yard dash in less than 0.3. Matter of fact, I'll say 0.03 tenths of a second. That's how fast they were running up and down the pitch. Seventh goal was by by Maggie Newton, her second one. Eighth goal was by Bailey Morris from USF. That was her first for the night. Sophia Chepanek, the first one, the ninth goal for her. And then the second Kennesaw State goal was by Lavana Watkins. That was her first. And it didn't come till the second with 10:24 left. Third one by Jordan Olivio. 10th was by Bailey Morris, her second for USF. 11th goal by USF. Juliana George, again, her third goal of the evening. 12th goal was by Morgan Perry in the first. And most of these all came within the first half. Then the fourth goal again was by Lavana Watkins, the second one for Kennesaw State. 13th USF goal was Ava Uphughes, her second of the evening. 5th by Kennesaw State. The goal was Shannon Harrington. That was her first. The 14th USF goal was by Maggie Newton. Once again, the third. 15th was Sophia Chepanek. The second time she got her goal for the evening. The 16th goal was by Sophia Chepanek, who had just scored, by the way, went back-to-back on goals. That was her third one. Bailey Morris also had 3. She had the 17th goal. And then in the fourth, to close it out, the 18th USF goal was Bailey Morris, her fourth. 19th was by Sophia Chepanek, her fourth of the evening. And then finally, Kennesaw State got their last one with Cohen Reidnor. She had the first one. 2 ladies, though, with 4 goals. This is, again, opening inaugural match for USF. 2 of them with 4 goals, Bailey and Sophia. And then you had, Bailey and Sophia with 4th. And then Bailey again with 3. Sophia, obviously, with the third. And a couple with their second goals. Like I said, you would never have known at all the way USF had played on the pitch at Corbett Stadium. And for the fans in attendance, the football team actually walked through at one point. And obviously you could tell these guys, the guys were big and they walked through and people cheered them on as well because they're also bowl champs coming out from Hawaii. The way this team played, how resilient they were, and they didn't stop. They could have probably been gassed out towards the end of the game. You would have never noticed it because they played that well. Coach McCord had this team prepared. And when I mean, if you were there, you watched a team that, honest to God, felt like they've been playing for 5 years, the way they played. I didn't expect it. Everyone in attendance didn't expect it. I mean, the goals were coming fast and furious, and they wouldn't slow down. I think, honestly, with Kennesaw State, I think they were trying to find jet propulsions, energy drinks, energy bars, whatever they needed to be able to come back in the same form and fashion that the women lacrosse team did for USF. All I have to say is the celebration afterwards, and I know it was a big fireworks show, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. And it was well-deserved. For leading up to what Coach McCord was doing during the offseason, leading up to getting the right athletes all put together. Oh, and by the way, it was just 2 days, 2 days detached or a day detached from, National U.S. Girls and U.S. Ladies in Sports. So to be able to come out with that dominance, it was just so much fun. Next game coming up is against Mercer, and they're back home on Valentine's Day. If you guys missed that very first match, you can watch the second one on ESPN Plus, but I would say the second home game, you guys should be there. 7 o'clock at Corbett Stadium. It is going to be, oh, by the way, the tailgating party, and who knew? Listen, you got me. The tailgating party that went on right outside the General Mission gates, it was like no other. The cheer squad that came on. I mean, it seemed like when I mean they brought out all the bells and whistles, was it the Dean Rhea? She was out there. She was talking amongst everybody. That lady never slows down. Never slows down. She is everywhere, greeting folks, talking to them. Michael Kelly, the same thing. He said a couple nice words to me on the pitch after the game. For Micah Banks, I mean, listen, he let me know exactly where everything was going to end up being, the post game, because we thought it was going to be over at Lee Selman. Turned out to be right on the pitch because it was just so much stuff that was going on. And then to be able to talk to Coach McCord afterwards, this was, USF did it right. They really did it right. And the energy that was there, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And everybody showed up early. When the gates opened up, people started coming in. And a couple of folks wondered why I was there kind of by myself and just sitting there on the bleachers and waiting. I got there early because I wanted to make sure that, where I can get kind of like the best angle to watch the game and see what went on, for the match, not the game, but watching for the match. It was just USF women's lacrosse did it right. 1-0 right now until they face Mercer. And Coach McCord said, as I mentioned to her, the first one's out of the way. All the jitters are out of the way. Now they can go ahead and move on to the second one. But I told her to go ahead and celebrate. She goes, we are for tonight. And then tomorrow morning, the staff, everybody's getting prepared so we can get ready for Mercer. So I don't know if they're going to have the same kind of dominant fashion against Mercer, but I will say this much. I mentioned it with the USF women's soccer team. I mentioned it with them that they were going to have a really good season, and they did. Came up short, but it doesn't mean they can't get back there again. But I will say, if lacrosse just pretty much mirrors what the soccer team did, this team will be in the playoffs for the first time in team history. But for the inaugural match, you couldn't ask anything more. You really couldn't. Again, multiplayers with 4 goals, 3 goals, and 2 goals, not even include the assists. So if you have not purchased your tickets, purchase them early. Get out there and support this team. It was just absolutely incredible. And how in the world they didn't get more attention from the local media around here is beyond me. But I will say this much. I am happy to cover USF sports. I'm happy to cover USF lacrosse, women's lacrosse, because it is absolutely outstanding. USF does it right. You come, you play, you stay. That's the way at least I describe it, because they do it absolutely right. The athletics department gets it right. And hopefully we'll have a lot more coverage. Hopefully we'll get Coach McCord on. Who knows? We're trying to get things so we can provide as much coverage as possible for USF, because again, this was just a dominant match. Please, if you guys missed the first one, for whatever reason, Valentine's Day, listen, Valentine's Day, you can do something unique. You don't have, it's not all about boxes and chocolates and, roses and this super expensive dinner is going to cost you 4 times as much only because it's Valentine's. Go out to Corbett Stadium. Have fun. And it's not, nobody's saying you can't do anything afterwards. The match is at 7 o'clock. Go to dinner beforehand. Go to the match afterwards. Or vice versa. Go to the match first, then go celebrate afterwards. One of the two. But go out there. The ladies did such an amazing job. My hat's off to Coach McCord because, again, you would have thought, and honestly, I know it's the dumbest thing in football when we talk about it all the time. We say, oh, man, the guys are playing like midseason form. That's honestly what it felt like with the women's lacrosse team. It felt like midseason form. But want to know are the USF lacrosse team. Purchase your tickets. Go to Corbett Stadium. You will not be disappointed. And to boot, it was nice because it was 82 degrees at the start of the match. And I believe it got down to about 65 by the time it was done, right around about 9:20-ish or so. And then the celebration afterwards, which is a lot of fun. You had to be there. You really had to be there. All right. With that being said, as I mentioned before, do I have the other video? I think this might be, is this it before I start? Yes. All right. This one here, it touched me a couple years ago because you guys got to remember that we waited. In Philly, we waited 52 years. 52 stinking years. Not to include the championships that we had before the NFL merged the, NFL, AFL into finally, doing this thing that's called the Super Bowl now. This was originally in 2017. And I want to play this. And like I mentioned, for some of us, it's like a tearjerker because everything that encapsulated Philly was encapsulated by this. And don't forget, this is when Tom Brady had lost the rare few Super Bowls he ever lost. But to be the best, you had to beat the best. And this was a dynasty team. And before I play that, Joey B says, by the way, did Rick Marcus do the flyover at Tampa Joe's? I believe Mike Goodwin took the credit for it. I think it was Rick. That's a good point, Joey B. I think it was Rick. I think Rick called in a major favor. Good morning, Michelle. Michelle, who did an outstanding job. She was all over the place last night. And it was standing room only, no matter which way you look at it. At one point, she had gotten so hot, she had to come outside because it was cooler outside than it was inside. And it was still warm. Last night, it was a really warm night. It was 85 degrees at the start of the game. And I think by the time it was all said and done, it only had gone down to maybe, 75 or so. Michelle did such a great job for Philly to South. Listen, these guys, they did it right. They did it right. I'm pretty sure by the time she was done cleaning up, it was probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and by the way, speaking about 3 in the morning, Philly had to put out alert. The mayor had to put out alert at 3:15 in the morning, basically telling everybody, okay, go home. Nothing else to see here. It's Philly. The good thing is that once again, nothing was, burned to the ground. There weren't flipped over cars. I know everybody's trying to look for a story. We know how to do things right. So get off of Philly's back. But here's the video that was played just a couple years ago. And this is definitely a good one. Hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Steps up. He is going deep. And it is caught by Angel. Jeffrey for touchdown.
Brady lost one for Gronkowski, reaching for it, touchdown. They look unstoppable right now.
Fires, slant, touchdown! Zach Ertz.
Brady gets hit, the ball is out, and Philadelphia has it.
Oh, they're in that turnover we prayed for.
Thank you, God.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
No, let me say this before I have what I've become. I've known to become a really, really good gentleman, and I will say has become to go a really good friend. I'm going to try and say this without choking up as much as possible. There's a lot of us in Philly, a lot of us that went through a lot. For a lot of people, their parents weren't there to celebrate that first championship. Last night, Rick Marcus brought a picture of his mom to celebrate with us, to encourage us. And I can't tell you the reason why that video means a lot to me, because in 2017, as you guys are getting to know me, I was planning to take my own life. And it was almost like God said, don't worry, I got you. I got you. I'm not going to let you down. And God never disappoints. And God blessed us all with the championship. And last night, when you looked at a crowd out there at Tampa Joe's, you can just feel it over and over again. So that meant the world to me. That championship, the first one, and the reason why this ring is on my finger was because the years of belief, the years of being there, and the years of you just being happy and going through it year after year after year. And after what happened with the Eagles last season, to be able to come back and do what they did. And I was one, everybody knows, I was one that was definitely saying, fire Nick, along with a lot of folks too. It wasn't just me, it was all in the media. But you know what? Nick did the job right because Nick went from being a fan to being a coach. That video, when I die, hopefully somebody will play it because it meant the world. God is great, and never forget that. Never forget that, because without him, none of us exist. And none of us are able to celebrate life as much as we did. Gabriel says, before I bring on what's going to be a fast week out there at Daytona, Gabriel says, rumor, it's Angel, it slept in his jersey. I did. I'm not going to lie. I did. And listen, this B-Dog jersey, this was the same one that I wore in 2017. And thankfully, B-Dog, he brought it back. Absolutely amazing night. It is absolutely true. Yeah, Gabriel was against your Patriots for sure. Sorry, it was just one of those things. As he says, we all love you, Angel. Fly, Eagles, fly. Listen, I'm happy. Michelle says, amen, brother. It was such a happy experience. So let me do this right so I can bring on, let me switch a couple things here. Therefore, I can bring on what's going to be an absolute exciting week coming up in Daytona. the ARCA Menard Series. And more importantly, what's going to be fantastic is the temporary number 86 Storm, driven by Beck Monopoly, owned by City Garage Motorsports, and Stuart Weiss. Stuart, the owner, probably the best owner in ARCA. I'm just going to throw it out there right now because I got a funny feeling there's a win coming. Stuart, if somehow or another you can put in some magical thing to go on inside the car so you can bring home yet another victory for everyone, it would be fantastic.
Brother, you're making me cry here. And when I was off stage listening, man, I was crying. But man, we are going to try. It's not getting much sleep right now. We are in the final preparations right now. Storm's getting reweighed so that we can make sure we have all the weights just perfect. And we're going to load tomorrow and head, man. We're ready. It's about as ready as we can be.
Well, I'm going to put myself inside the hauler since, Daytona, love Daytona, really do. Great American race. Unfortunately, some things didn't work out the way they're supposed to, but I'm going to be in the hauler. So if you guys hear a thumping going around when you guys are going up 95, that's going to be me in the back, kind of slam myself around. But listen, we saw the car set up. We know how strong the car is. You guys are now, with Chubb Racing. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Going as far as the points, I know they put out the list. Normally I share the stuff. I didn't because it's one of those things like it seems kind of odd. There's certain things that I won't do, and it's dumb. Whatever you want to call it, it's just silly.
Yeah.
All I know is I want to see just the car go up in Daytona, just try to be as bad as possible in a good way, obviously not in a bad way, but just tear up the asphalt and hopefully to at least get that qualification everybody's looking for so we can make the race on Saturday. Because you guys have to be, you have to be on pins and needles because at this point, first full season, and it may not be the first full season, but it's the first time for you guys out there. It's just going to be so electric. And the garage itself is going to be absolutely nuts. You figure 4 teams are going to be there. The Cup Series, obviously Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and then ARCA. It's going to be absolute madhouse coming up this week.
Yeah, Speed Weeks. If you've looked at the schedule, there's almost no time that there's not a series on the track. It is crazy. We've been looking forward to this for a year now, and it's here. It's surreal. Feel a lot of weight on my shoulders. A lot of people I'm responsible for. We've done everything we can to get Storm ready. She is looking good. The only thing we're going to do is put a few more coats of wax on her and make her as slick as possible so she flows through the wind. But we've got her ready. Head up there. We'll be there about 1:00 on Wednesday. We load into Daytona at 4:00, and then they'll impound the trailers and the trucks Wednesday night, and then we'll be there at 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, and it's game on.
Now, if again, I know it's going to be a condensed season. I can't wait. Personally, after we get past Daytona, I can't wait for Rockingham because it's such a historical track. And for if a lot of people didn't go, I would love for us to have a bus full of fans to go up to Rockingham. I'll drive the bus myself. I don't care. I have a CDL. I have no problem driving the bus. I will drive it myself, or we get a passenger van, whatever the case may be, so we can bring that winning spirit up there. But, Daytona is going to be a big one. Obviously, it starts there. I'm hoping, as I texted you earlier, I really hope for a win. But I think if you get a top 10 coming in for the first Daytona race, that's a winner within itself, Stuart.
Well, it's kind of like the playoffs when you get to like the Eagles just went through. We have a first round is we got to qualify. So once we get qualified, then it's a matter of planning and strategizing to win. You'll hear the guys in the background working on the car. It's strategizing for the win. So our game plan is a little bit different than what some is. We don't want to get caught up in the big one early. Last year, lap 4, they took out 21 cars in a huge pileup. So our goal is to qualify as well as we can. But start of the race, we're going to try to drop back a little bit and try to stay out of the fray for a little bit. And then once we get to the second half of the race and some of the craziness has taken place and we can battle for a win. We want to win, and we want Storm to come out of this thing in one piece. So we're working hard to make sure we're ready, make sure we have the right strategy, make sure we have everything in place that we need in place. And it's just a lot on our plate right now, but we're excited about it.
It is a lot on your plate because, again, first of all, it's a fortune for a race team, just to own a race team. It's a lot of money involved. Everybody knows this. And if you guys don't know, a 4 tire change can cost you easily $1,500, if not more.
4,500 for Daytona. They got interliners in them. It's $4,500 every time we change those tires.
See, which is and it's not like, I mean, can you get away with scraping a little bit? Maybe, but truthfully, you can't.
Not at Daytona.
Yeah.
Not at Daytona. You're going 175, 180 miles an hour. You can't skimp on those tires. You have a blowout. You've just destroyed a $100,000+ car, and so you just can't skimp when it comes to racing. You just can't.
No, you can't. That's the big thing. I think for, the same way for a lot of folks, I mean, it's other than running Fast and Furious, even though there's been a movie made about it, but hopefully Becca will make chapter 4 out of the movie sometime soon. But no, you're absolutely right, because the big thing is in Daytona, it's so easy to wreck and be involved in a big one. And it doesn't even have to be your fault, have to be your fault. A blowout, something goes wrong, anything, just car gets a little bit loose. That's the one that everybody wants to avoid, because again, you guys, it's not like, I want everybody to understand, City Garage Motorsports doesn't have 4, 5, 6 vehicles that are just lined up in the garage. Something goes wrong, there's an extra hauler. There's none of that stuff. It's basically one and done type deal. And that's why we hope that come, Saturday, as long as, qualifications are a big thing. Once you qualify, it's just trying to avoid the big one. And I know it's going to be a lot of nerves for Becca, because it's her first one too. I mean, she did well out there when, for the practice, about 3 weeks ago at this point. But it's different. We just hope whomever she has for a draft partner actually looks out for her. We all know, everybody knows in a race, you can have the best drafting partner. You guys can help each other out. That last lap, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, it's every man for themselves. And even the deals you make early in the race, sometimes those go by the wayside when people try to, take things to their advantage. But our goal is to do what we're supposed to do, go out there, perform the best of our ability. The pit crew will do what they're supposed to do. The mechanics will do what they're supposed to do. Car will be ready. Hopefully it'll be Fast and Furious 8. Bring on the storm, because that's what we want to do with us this weekend coming up. Not sleeping much right now. Got to be honest with you. Not sleeping much right now, Angel. But we're going to be excited. We're really excited. I can't wait to get there.
I would bet. And if you guys don't know, Stuart and Becca, I will say this much: even if, for the team that I met when we were there, Stuart is, as an owner, he's not showing you his cards. He could be frustrated, but when he comes up to you and you ask him a question, inside, he might be furious. On the outside, you would never know it, because it's the true professionalism as far as a team owner. And that's the one thing I appreciate about Stuart. The same way with Becca. Becca talked about the car, how it had to be adjusted, and she was just fine. The same thing, you talked to Becca, even though, yes, she has raced with the trucks as well and with other teams. She's raced for herself, but it's completely different when you're actually now a part of a team with City Garage Motorsports. And just to show the confidence you guys have coming into it, like I said, anybody who speaks to you guys, Stuart, honest to God, I don't think anybody would believe this is your actual first season in Arkham and Art Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we try to be professional in everything we do. Everybody feeds off of me and off of Becca, so the team, they've got to see that we're confident about what we're doing. Our sponsors got to see that we're confident about what we're doing. The league needs to know that we feel confident about what we're doing. You don't ever want to go in and exude that you have no idea what you're doing. And we do everything in our power to prevent that from happening. We raced twice last year, which gave us a really good opportunity to see what we need to know, what we don't need to know, how we need to do it, what we need to do better. And, I feel like we're coming into this race, as well prepared as we can. We've done everything that you need to do to make sure you have a great day. So from our perspective, we've rebuilt everything. I mean, we even came back from testing. We took our brake system apart. We rebuilt the brake system, because the slightest drag on any of those pads can take 1, 2, 3 tenths off your time. That's a matter of football field, difference in where you should be. And so we can't have anything cause us from getting in that field. We rebuilt the shocks in the front and make sure that the front gets down enough out of the wind when we're at full speed. We putting a brand new splitters all the way around, which gets it all the way to the ground so that we don't have any air coming underneath the car, at least as little as possible. We're putting about 6 coats of wax on undercarriage and the top of the car to make it as slick as possible. I mean, there's nothing that we haven't done to be ready. Now it's just a matter of going out and performing.
That's one thing I think people don't realize either, is that, as you mentioned, I mean, you can have, it's different. You go to your local mechanic, if he makes a mistake, He'll hopefully it'll catch you before obviously you hit the road. But again, if it's something, if you're a type of person that go, well, I hear the metal to metal going, well, obviously replace your brakes because now at this point you're causing your own death trap. But you're absolutely right though, because if the brake pads are rubbing, wrong rotors, whatever, from even well back then when you had the actual 5 lug nuts that were on the car, they had to change them, but all those things, the diameter itself on the spindles, every little thing matters because you're absolutely right. These slightest, even if it's 0.01 of a second you can gain, that's exactly what you want. So, and I know we tried last week to get up to the shop. Hopefully we'll make it happen once you guys get back because I definitely want to see the car afterwards. I'll bring the champagne. I don't care what ended up happening. I'll bring the champagne just so we can splash out in the parking lot. I'm not going to wreck inside the garage itself, but just to celebrate. But it is going to be, it's going to be monumental. I hope that, like everybody else, you guys just soak it all in. I know it's going to be hard for you as the owner, as you said. It's tough because you're not going to have too many sleep, you'll have a lot of sleepless nights, that's for sure, because it's just heart pounding, getting things ready. Did we forget something at the shop? How much more do we need? All those come into play. But if somehow we can get some sort of van together and bring a little crowd with us up to Rockingham, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. Because why not have people supercharged and ready for a season?
Well, in Rockingham, just so you know, it's a small track, but it is fast. They ran 160. They just tested up there. Xfinity was testing up there 2 weeks ago. They were running 160. At Daytona right now, we're in the high 170s. So I mean, it's not much off of where we're running at Daytona. The difference is we don't have a restrictor plate on them, and these motors can use all 600 horsepower, and it's a quick track. So it's going to be a lot of fun. NASCAR hasn't been there in over 20 years, so it's a lot of excitement going into that one. We have Pensacola before that. We'll take Sadie out for that one, and that'll be our short track car up at Pensacola in March. And then we have 3 weeks in a row. We'll go Rockingham, Talladega, Nashville, 3 weeks in a row, week after week after week. And so it's going to test us as a team. That's a quick turnaround for us. I mean, we've got to drive back from the tracks, get the other car ready, load it up, and go. So I mean, it's going to be 3 quick turnarounds, but that's what we built this team for, and hopefully we'll be able to perform well. That's our goal.
Well, for those who don't know either, before Elliot, you go, and I want to get your thoughts about the clash that just happened last weekend. For those who don't know, Stewart has officially hired me as a mascot. We're trying to build a car around me, the frame, so I can turn into a transformer and get on the track. But
we got the storm costume from the Fantastic Four for you to wear. So it's Halle Berry. It was a Halle Berry, I think, wore that thing. But thought you'd look good in that.
Listen, I'll take it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But no, I just can't wait. I'm excited as well. I'm not gonna lie, it absolutely sucks that I won't be up there. I'm gonna say personally, I am fuming because I definitely wanted to be there closely. And Dylan keeps telling me we could buy a ticket. The ticket's not the same.
I may have a way to get you in. We'll talk after the broadcast.
All right, no problem. But the clash, it's one of those things. I said to Dylan, I'm glad I guess they're away from LA. Nothing against LA. I don't want anybody to think that it's because it was LA. It has nothing to do with that. It's because, again, when it comes to logistics, just like you guys know after this week, which you have to prepare for the next few races. But looking at it in North Carolina, obviously it was a chilly night. It just, you had the skirting, which is obviously the rainwater wells that were there. And you saw a couple cars end up spinning out. NASCAR felt, and the fans felt like it was a win for them. And at the end of the race, I will say it was a little exciting because only 20 cars on the track, impossible to get up to first, but somehow another guys were making it happen. A lot of bumping, a lot of bruising. I did see though that they actually put in an extra piece, I guess, in the front. I'm not too sure exactly what it's called, but I know it was under the underlayer from the bumpers in the front. And it was made just for that because they knew that how much you're going to be bumping the car in front of you and obviously from behind. That was something different that I don't think I've seen from NASCAR before. But I want to get your thoughts. Like, what did you think about the race overall?
I know what NASCAR is trying to do. They're trying to give you different venues. They're trying to go to some historic places. They're trying to kind of build the excitement. Clash used to always be at Daytona. If you remember, it used to be always at Daytona. It'd be the week before, and it would kind of kick off speed weeks. But I think everybody started feeling like it was kind of getting a little boring. So they tried to mix it up, and that's when they went out to LA to try to build the crowd base and try to get some people out west. But it wasn't bad. I feel like it needed to be a little bit bigger track to give the opportunity for a little bit more passing. It looked like the only way you passed was to knock the car out of the way in front of you, which is not the way I like to drive. As an owner now, as a fan, I probably love it. But as an owner, I know how much those owners have to pay to have those cars fixed. And, they destroyed, every car out there destroyed the bodies that were on those cars. The running parts of them are all going to be fine. But, it's those bodies. They have to replace those entire bodies on those cars just from getting destroyed from beating and banging. I think the fans, the atmosphere was great. They were sold out, standing room only. I like how close the fans were to the track. So they got a lot of interaction with the teams. And I think the drivers and teams really loved that. Only thing I thought was maybe a little bit bigger track. I have heard they're talking about going back to Bowman Gray, but maybe a little bit bigger track. I liked it when it was North Wilkesboro. I liked the All-Star race there last year at North Wilkesboro. Maybe go to a track like that, bring back some of the history. Maybe pull out a track that hasn't been used in a while, like a Rockingham or somewhere, and have some sort of thing there. But I know what NASCAR is doing, and again, I think it was a pretty good night. It was entertaining anyway. I watched it. It was exciting to see who was going to win. Seeing Kyle Larson come all the way through the field was pretty impressive.
It was. Last time I was at the Rock was 1995, and my first experience there. So being a Dale Earnhardt fan, which is kind of ironic, living up north in Philly and being a Dale Earnhardt fan, you're a NASCAR fan, but that's because of Dover, Delaware being so close. I remember walking through, and I was with about 7 of the guys that were in my unit. Now, they've been there a ton of time before because they were at our unit in Fort Bragg 3 years prior than my arrival. But I remember walking through, and I turned around, and the guys were gone. I'm like, wait, what happened? They were just in front of me. So they made a hard right, and I didn't realize it. So here I'm going through, which I called the good old boy section. And as I'm walking through, I'm thinking, I hope I don't die. I'm in the military, but I'm not around these guys. I have no idea what's about to happen here. And I remember one guy coming up behind me and grabbing me by my neck, almost like the way Dale Earnhardt used to do to everybody before. And the guy said, "Are you lost, son?" I hope not. He goes, "Looks like to me that you are." And he goes, "There's only one way this is going to happen, that you're going to be able to get through to the other side." Man, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. This is so bad. But I had my Dale Earnhardt hat at the time on me, and I looked at him like, "And how's that going to happen, sir?" He goes, "Couple beers, couple dogs, some ribs. You'll be able to make it to the track." So come on, let's celebrate. And I had the best time. First time I was ever welcomed on a track. And if that's the way I was going to be welcomed everywhere else, I'd have been fine. Darlington, not so much. It was a little risky on that side, but it was always fun. NASCAR families are always good. Learning, the team owners, team drivers, it's a great time. So I just hope come Daytona, everything gets lined up. For as much fun as we had when nobody was there, I would imagine how crazy it's going to end up being. But, I just hope, Stuart, for more than anything, and Becca, first of all, I say for all you guys too, on the trip there and the trip back, because I always say a prayer before we take off anywhere to make sure God blesses us on our safe travels and on our way back. But I would love for you guys to be able to take that first celebration. And again, just because we're coming off a Super Bowl win, I would love for City Garage Motorsports and car number 86 Storm to just come out with a humongous victory coming up this week.
There's no reason why we shouldn't. Everything's got to play to our favor, though. This one requires a lot of being in the right place at the right time, and we got to get people to work with us. Becca is new, and a lot of these drivers don't necessarily have the comfort level with us or with her yet. So hopefully, we can find some partners who will draft with us and cooperate with us, and we'll be a good partner for those who want to work with us. We'll work with them, and hopefully, we can wind up at the front with about 10 to go. And give us a chance to win it, because if we're up front 10 to go, it's anybody's game at that point. Checkers or wreckers. That's it at that point.
That's true, very true. And before I let you go here, I think the last time we had spoken, you guys were making the adjustment for Becca to make it a little bit easier to get in and out of the car. Did you guys finalize make it happen?
Yep, we did. We took the car right after testing. Actually, the next day we took it over to Gadget over in. He lives in DeLand. He's a master at working on these bodies, and he was able to take that bar out, remove it, put it back where it goes, move it forward about 2 or 3 inches, and it gave Becca all the room she needed to get in and out. We've had her get in and out of the car several times already, so she's good to go.
Good. That's great news, because again, as I told everybody, I'm going to race the car. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to end up racing the car. But Stuart, Listen, good luck. This is going to be an absolute outstanding week. Soak it all in, as I always tell everybody, because I know it's hard. I know you have 30 million things on your plate. All I hope for is that you guys have safe journeys, a beautiful race, and more importantly, you come back home. I don't care, even if it's a top 10, at least for a week, you should be able to feel like a champion, because not too many people get to be in the shoes where you are as a team owner and being able to go out to Daytona and be able to race.
True. We're excited. We're blessed. We're thankful. And, we're going to be praying for a great Saturday, great Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hopefully it'll be a great weekend for us. And we'll come home with a big trophy and be ecstatic about it. And we'll celebrate when we get back. We'll have a bigger championship party than Philly did.
Oh, even better. Good. Not a problem. Oh, by the way, too, just to let you know, and everybody else, the gear will be up soon. I know I keep mentioning all the time, but as Stuart, as obviously a business owner, the one thing the company I was using, and I'm still using at this point, they were like, oh, by the way, you have to take this crash course real quick to understand how this all works. So I'm ready to hit it. I have the merch all lined up. I'm ready to hit live. And they told me, no, not so fast. You have to read through this paraphrase and this paraphrase. So yeah, I think I'm up to paraphrase 40. But eventually, once I get up to 50, we'll be good. So hopefully by next week, God willing, things will be ready to go. And there's going to be some nice gear for City Garage Motorsports that I hope everybody picks up, including a flag that you'll be able to fly up on your flagpole. So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
There you go. Well, hey, man, thanks for having us on. Let's talk later on this afternoon, Angel. And go Storm, go City Garage.
Exactly. Go Storm. Thanks to Stuart and Fast Chat. CGM here, usually on Wednesdays, but because they're getting everything lined up for Daytona, we wish them well. And Stuart, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
All right, there goes Stuart. It's good. Listen, you guys, like I said, it's such a great time. I had so much fun with Stuart. I had so much fun with everybody there at the garage, especially when it came up their track. It was true. Dylan, as he says, Auto Racing Digest, big week of racing. Can't wait. I was about to call Dylan Stewart. Dylan, who was also doing double duties as he was over at the motocross over the weekend. He was enjoying himself. We got together at the USF lacrosse game. So thankfully, I convinced him to come over to USF, and he did. I know he was tired. I know he does a lot of things, and it's absolutely terrific for Auto Racing Digest. But I'm glad that Dylan continues to evolve and continues to move up the ranks, and hopefully he'll have some nice news to share after to get back from Daytona, because I'm so looking forward to all his coverage he's going to have up there at Daytona. It's going to be, it's going to be great. Didn't mean to do that there on air, but all right. Gaspam Guy says, let's see. Amen. God is good all the time. That was a great video. The guy falling over the bar is just priceless. Listen, I can't, GPG, when I mean, I'll have to eventually, maybe I'll do it for an upcoming show or something, but for us celebrating that night in Philly, and when you saw matter of fact, can I bring it back to, where was the one place I want to see if here it is. I forget the name of this place, and this is where sometimes the memory goes away, but this is up in right off of Center City, off of Delaware Avenue. This place that you guys see up there on the screen, that's where I was that night. And if you look on the bottom left, if you're listening in on the radio app, you'll have to come back and watch it on SR1029thegame.com under Martinez Company under starting lineup. On the left side, and just about where you can see the two people standing there. So that was me that evening. 94 WIP was there. My good friends, John Barchard, my great brother, Jimmy Seltzer, Brandon Lee Gowan. We were all together. We were just enjoying what we'd hope would be a Super Bowl championship. I'm doing a Facebook Live. It might still be up there on my Facebook page as well. But as I'm doing a Facebook Live, the confetti cannon goes off, and I'm jumping for joy. My dad calls, and it stops the live feed. But I'm glad my dad did call, though, because it was really cool to hear from my dad the very first Super Bowl championship, which I still have to call him today just to say, Dad, we got another one. But he called and like, no, like I wanted to record it, but I didn't and went live, and unfortunately he knocked it off. But nonetheless, it was such a great time. But in that room itself, that place I want to say maybe at capacity, about 500 folks. The fire marshal came and kind of did one of these numbers, walked in, yep, looks like everything's good to hear. And they end up leaving. They never gave us a hard time or anything else. And you don't know the people that own the establishment. There was probably, I want to say, I think when it first started, about maybe 30 or 40 police officers on hand. I think by about half of them were gone. Because again, everybody knew this. Everybody knew what was at stake, and no one was going to do anything dumb. And believe me, we all celebrated that evening. I ended up walking from there. Like I said, that's on Delaware Avenue near Spring Garden. It's a couple streets in. I know it's, unless you guys live in the area, it's kind of hard to describe. But from where that was down to City Hall, you're looking easily over maybe a 5-mile walk. And after it was done, myself, Jimmy Seltzer, John Barchard, BLG, we ended up walking over there and end up doing a live remote from there. And we were enjoying it. When we made the left on Broad Street to get down to City Hall, I remember the sea of people that were there. And it was the same way. I saw the guys, and the next minute, I didn't see anybody. They were just like poof and be gone. And so I hung back a little bit. Eventually, I made my way in towards the center of the crowd. But then when it felt like kind of the walls were closing in, I stepped away and stepped back. But it was, listen, that first time, and like I said, it meant the world. To me personally, it meant the world because 2017 was just, it was really bad. But God told me, don't worry, hang in there. Things will happen. Things will make it better. And I say that to also say this. It's been really, really a lot of fun to make this happen here on the network. You guys know it's basically a one-man operation. I'm blessed to have Pete in the morning. Pete being with WEEI for many years, and then being here from 7 to 10 a.m. 5 days a week. And listen, we have times that he has doctor's appointments. With Luna, when his former canine had passed away. I mean, things end up happening, but it takes a lot to make this network run. It really does. It's been officially over a year when I chose, at that time, when I walked away from the Tony Bruno Sports Network, and I figured it was time for me to get Broad Street South back to where it was. And we also had gone with Riptide, and about 3 months later, I had walked away from them. Pivoted and made the Coastal Sports Network, all under the Broad Street South umbrella, with Sports Radio 102.9. It takes a lot to run this network. I don't have endless pockets, and neither is everyone else around here. We try to put this together as best as we possibly can. But there comes a point in time, and you guys have heard me say this before, when it stops being fun, it's when it's over. And I'm not saying it's not fun anymore, and by all means, am I saying it's over. But Martinez Company may not be on as often as before. In order for me to keep the lights on around here, I have to do what needs to be done so that the talent can stay on the air, so that the talent can bring you great entertainment like Pete in the morning, like my hermano, Rich Quinones, The Drive with Q. Even with him and all the boxing stuff and everything else he does, listen, I am beyond grateful for both Pete and Rich, beyond grateful, because they can go anywhere, in all honesty. But they believe in the network as much as I believe in them. And Pete has done as much as humanly possible to try to add, to try to make things happen. We have great people like Lou DiMuzio with Ace Tech Advisors. Moynihan Lumber, they jumped on with us at the end of baseball season. We're hoping they're going to be back here for next season as baseball is right around the corner. Pete has done a tremendous job to try to make things happen. But there comes a point in time where you have to take a look and see what's best and how are you going to make this company work. I wish I was the, not the ESPN, meaning the ESPN, the brand itself, or the sponsors they end up having. It's not easy, folks. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And it's sometimes the things that I don't share, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. We wish we had endless pockets around here. We wish that things could be better than what they are right now. But God is great, and he's going to lead us in the right direction. So Martinez Company may not be around as often because I have to do what I need to do to keep the on-air talent. Critical Talent Agency, Gabriel has come on as a partner along with Rich, and he is doing everything he possibly can to add to the network so we can make things grow. I had mentioned at the end of 2024 that 2025 was going to be a big year. I had some really good news that came in at the end of December into January, and I'm forever grateful for it. Building a relationship with USF has meant the world to me. To have Michael Kelly come up to you after the match was over and say, thank you for what you're doing and for sharing USF, that means the world. And to some people, it may not mean anything whatsoever. Anything that happens on this network, I am forever grateful. Joey B, who has been around since I started Broad Street South, and Joey B's ran out when I hit the 100th episode, when Tony and Robin were on, when I had all the guests in the first 100 episodes, Joey B has been around since. And that's been 4 years now that Joey B's been with me. You know, and other guys have joined. Penguin AZ out in Arizona usually starts the morning off with us. Somewhere between he chimes in. Jerry from Rhode Island, who's become a great acquaintance. Gas Pump Guy doing his Bucks report has become a really good friend and family member. I mean, all you guys, your text threads, your messages and everything else. But I have to make sure I take care of the lady who takes care of me, who's believed in me, and who's had a ton of faith in this network. And if it wasn't for my wife, this network probably wouldn't be around, in all honesty. She may not have all the tech savvy that it takes, but she is the digital producer. She listens in. She coaches me. When times are rough, she finds ways to say, it's okay, it's going to be fine. So if you guys don't see me as often as before, it's because I have to do what's right for the network. And I have to make sure that with my partners that I'm saving them as well, so that we don't lose Rich, that we don't lose Pete, that I don't lose Gabe, that we make sure that we keep making this thing grow. Jonathan Marshall for, you know, his time putting in there. I mean, Pat Gilroy, who's nice enough to share his podcast with us. And I'm more than happy content to share it with everybody because him and his wife do. It may not be for everybody, but they tell it the way it is. They don't hold it back. Pretty soon, Chef Derek Fox, his podcast will be available here on the network. So the network continues to evolve, but it comes with growing pains. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. There's only 24 hours of the day, and I use about 79 hours in a 24-hour period. There comes a point in time, too, where that's thinning out, folks. I don't do the spray thing. I'm not going to put the potion thing or whatever else that's out there. Once it's gone, it's gone. That'll be it. But I hope that once everything lines up the way it should, that we can have a full lineup from top to bottom where everybody can really enjoy the network as much as we do. I mean, you know, Pete doesn't have to get up early in the morning if he doesn't want to. No one's forcing Pete to get up early in the morning. Pete does it because he loves it. Pete does it because we have natural love for each other. You know, I've been to his place, and you guys can call it the Chateau, you can call it whatever you want to. It's the best thing ever. So I have fun with a lot of folks. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate those who listen in, and you know, it's been a ton of fun. Gaspam Guy says, thanks, Angel. We got nothing but love for you, the network, on to bigger and better things. And listen, it's just, you know, it's a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody, and it's a great time. So I'm going to go into a commercial break here. And then when we come back, we'll get into some more videos because yes, it is Victory Monday. And yes, our Philadelphia Eagles are 2-time champions, not back to back, but they finally got 2. So I know with the new rings, and Tom Brady is responsible for this one, being out there with Tampa Bay, but you know, that when they flip it open, and then I think they had like Ray J on the inside, I could only imagine. Hopefully it'd be really nice. I mean, this one was outstanding by the Eagles. This thing was really, really nice. So I could only imagine what's going to be the second time around. All right, so we'll take a quick break. Don't forget the text lines and the phone lines are still open here. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Don't forget to check out the starting lineup at sr1029thegame.com. The audio replays, I try to make them available as quickly as the shows are over, along with the video replays of the show. So yesterday, you guys can watch the pregame show as I had talked about it and said that the Eagles would end up winning 45-21, end up being 40-22. What an outstanding game for our Birds. And we hope that, I know they're still in New Orleans, that they have fun. And if Kellen Moore decides to take the job with New Orleans, what a way to close out. Not only obviously winning the Super Bowl there in New Orleans, and then knowing that once you play your first game as a head coach, the feelings will probably end up coming back. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. You are listening to Martinez Company here live on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, everybody. It's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, welcome back here. I was not going to put you guys through the other breaks. Although I could use my break myself, but that's okay. We got about 45 minutes and some change here left on the show. But nonetheless, also joining me right now, and who was with me last night, and I appreciate it, as I said, he had brought his mom's picture and the family with him out there to Tampa Joe's. It is Rick Marcus here on the line with us, and he took some time away from the tarmac to join us. Rick, have you slept any last night?
I slept a little bit. I couldn't help but watch the post-game stuff. And I don't know. As I spoke to you yesterday, I had some work that was being done on my apartment today. So I have to sit out for about 3 or 4 hours. I'm actually in the middle of Upper Tampa Bay Park in the middle of the woods. So hopefully the signal stays on.
Hopefully it does. You know, it's obviously other than a packed house last night, as you mentioned, it was like standing room only. It was fun. At one point, obviously, you have to use the restroom. And I remember being in there. And then, obviously, the touchdown that happened to Devontae Smith, which I missed, but you can hear it clear as day through the walls. I don't think any of us truly expected the dominant fashion that the Eagles ended up winning. And I know Pete had mentioned this morning when he had talked about like the blueprint, because now everybody thinks they're going to have the magical blueprint in order to beat even the Eagles come next year. But understand, Vic Fangio and Nick Sirianni put something completely different that we haven't seen in the run throughout the playoffs to be able to pull off the win they did yesterday. And I am beyond ecstatic that we now finally have 2 and only had to wait 7 years in between, unlike our Flyers, 74-75, and the Sixers, 82-83, and then our Phillies, the last one being 2008. So thankfully, we only had to wait another 7 years.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like we mentioned earlier, or I spoke to you earlier about how I thought, wait a minute, somebody always has to make noise while we're live, right?
Yeah.
It's a blower that's going down the path that comes through here. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sure you can. But anyway, I spoke to you about how the feeling was different this time. And you brought up a good point. It's because we had waited so long that first time. And when you showed the video and you spoke about my mom, which I really appreciate, for me, it was my mom was a big Eagles fan, and she passed away back in 2003. So it's been quite a while since she's been gone. And while I'm on the subject, I did want to mention for, people like Fuji. I know he lost his mom last year, so I was thinking of her also. And the thing about it was there was just something that I didn't want to change, and I thought maybe it's a superstition. I'm not even sure. But for what I did do, I wore the same Westbrook jersey, the picture of my family, and everything turned out great. But there was just, I don't know, there's not as much energy with me, not to take away anything, because I'm very glad. It just, I don't know. Maybe it would have been more exciting, I guess, if the score was closer. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, you know what? Because I think we would have been more pissed off than anything else. Because it would have been closer. I think it would have ended up driving us nuts. But no, I think it's because, truthfully, I think all of us were shell shocked. I mean, if someone would have told any of us that, oh, by the way, you guys would be up at least 30 plus by the half, and the Chiefs would have scored anything, honestly, all of us would have been like, whatever, man. There's no way in the world that's going to end up happening. But who knew? I mean, the defense stepped up big. The one thing I will say, Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore got it right as far as chewing up that clock, especially in the third. They chewed up a lot of time. And that's what the Eagles needed to do. But we have never seen anything of the likes with Patrick Mahomes. This is the second time in his career where he's had a low QBR. But to see the look on his face, the look on Travis's face, was it Chris Jones, the tackle, when he was hurting throughout the game. I mean, they had zero answers. And listen, Will Travis, he said prior to this that he was not going anywhere for at least another 2 to 3 years if the Chiefs will have him. Now, could he change his mind and take a look and say, do I really want to continue doing this? Or am I officially just done? Do I not want to do this anymore? I mean, he could ride off into the sunset with Taylor Swift and go touring all over the world with her like he was doing beforehand during the offseason. But Travis Kelce is just not the same Travis Kelce that we've seen even 2 years ago. Even last year, you can see some of a slowdown. But this year especially, maybe because he was more into his relationship, it's like he went from drive to, I don't even think low one. I think he just went from drive to neutral.
Well, do you think that the Taylor Swift thing had something to do with the fact that she's originally from the Philadelphia area and also was wearing, Eagles gear back in the day, and now obviously she's with Travis and she's got to support her guy? You think that do you think that is what the booing was all about?
Yeah, I don't think so. Taylor Swift, no one, I don't think, was taking it really personal with Taylor Swift. And I think it's just because, like you said, because she is with Travis Kelce and she is originally from the area. To me, if you are loyal to your team, and I understand whatever your man is, your man's your man. He plays for Kansas City, but to me, it's like if you're truly loyal to your team, you got to told Travis, hey Travis, by the way, Pat walked in with a green suit prior to the game starting. So how about if I put on my Eagles gear? I'll still support you, because in the end, let's just say, the tails are turning and somehow another Chiefs find a way to come back in the winning, but you're still going out to the field and celebrating with them, even if you're wearing the freaking your Eagles gear. But I think that's where people were upset, because you're originally from the area. You swore up and down, you told everybody, especially when she had her concert out the link, that nope, I will always bleed green. Oh, not so much. Apparently you bleed somewhat red, maybe partially green, until things happen. And who knows, maybe she told Travis at the end, I know I shouldn't say, but maybe she told Travis after the game, I like winners, and I think I'm just going to go back to Philly.
Well, you did mention green earlier, and apparently that's Patrick Mahomes' favorite color, isn't it?
It sure is. Matter of fact, yeah, because I got the audio of him saying it.
My favorite color is green. Green, and that's always been my favorite color. St. Patrick's Day, it worked out perfectly.
It sure did work out perfect, didn't it?
Sure did. I wonder how much this is going to come back to haunt him.
Did you see the comment that was on Twitter for Nick Foles when he mentioned how it was nice that Tom Brady got to appear at both Eagles Super Bowls wins?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, I guess he put that on Twitter, and I thought that was fun. No offense to Patriots fans, but it was pretty funny.
Hey, he might end up rubbing it a little bit more, just a little bit, because I guess it's kind of the ability of beating him twice. But you know what? For Tom Brady, I thought he did a good job on the broadcast last night. I know they try to, Kevin Burkhardt tried to say, the Chiefs aren't out of it yet. You can just see. And like I said, I seriously, and I think, we both thought this, along with everybody else that was there, you would have thought the Chiefs would be like, all right, you know what? That's it. That's it. We're pissed. We're coming back. We're going to take this. We're going to be the first three-peat in forever since, what was it, Green Bay. We're going to do this. Nope, not so much. And then the last, couple times, the last two especially, the 14th and the 21st, or, 14th and then they went 20 and they got the 2-point conversion, which apparently a lot of people, this is why I don't gamble. This is why I don't bet. Apparently a lot of folks, when they went for that 2-point conversion, had dropped a lot of money, including Pete this morning, where he was saying he lost like $500 because of 2-point conversion. But I don't, that stuff to me, I don't know. It's all Greek to me. It makes no sense. It just, you tell me like the over under this, we got spread them, pick them, lose them, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not a betting dude. And if I do, I might as well go ahead and bet against myself because I'm going to end up losing a bet.
Now let's talk about something different, because I watched you yesterday at Tampa Joe's. I don't know where the heck you get the energy to keep on going from as much as you, especially yesterday, what you did. But when you saw that first pass interference call and you jumped up, I wish people could have seen that moment.
Yeah, because I was pissed.
Yes, you were.
I was,
but overall, how did you feel about the actual officiating? I thought it was okay.
The NFL knew they were on the clock. They knew it. Usually we hear, the teams are on the clock for the draft. The NFL Roger Goodell was on the clock. That first botched one that they did, and I'm pretty sure they probably thought like, did we tend to forget this is all Eagles fans in here and a couple of Chiefs fans were thrown in? They knew they made a mistake. And then they gave one to the Eagles, which they also knew was kind of a mistake. And they thought, well, listen, we gave one to KC. We also gave one to you guys. And then I thought the rest of the time, the good thing was there wasn't a whole bunch of penalties in this game, and as I also mentioned before, if it would have been much closer, then we would have been looking at something completely different, because what happened was it could have gone in the Chiefs' favor, probably so. But thankfully it didn't. But I thought the rest of the way the officiating was good. I think they cleaned it up. I'm almost certain they finished up, or they thought about their mistakes and thought, man, we can't blow this. If we blow this in one way or another, this is going to be the worst talk about. Now I'm quite sure, I haven't watched any of the live shows because I've been on with Pete, and all the live shows start about 7:00 in the morning. So being on with Pete and then myself, I'll probably be able to catch some of the replays later on. And I thought they have to get better. Roger Goodell claimed, this is what he claimed, that after the season was over, they're going to get everyone together and figure out what they're doing wrong. And if it means to have more angles of replays and or having to extend it to make sure to get the right calls, then they'll be able to do so. Because Buffalo, not for nothing, after watching one of the videos that Pete had played on Friday, Buffalo basically was like, no, we got the shaft. But again, Kansas City was beatable. Patrick Mahomes, it's rare for anyone making a dynasty run to come out and say, listen, we've gotten lucky all year long. But at the end, the luck ran out. Andy Reid didn't sound like he was beat up, and he knows. I mean, it's not, Pete mentioned this morning, it's not the end of their dynasty. It's not the end of their run. Look at the Patriots. How the Patriots lost to the Eagles. Hey, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll take that one back. Because after that, it didn't bode too well for the Patriots. But, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is still young. Andy Reid, he shows no sign of giving up. He doesn't want to throw it in. His goal already, knowing Andy, they get back to Kansas City, goes home, unpacks or whatever case may be. He's right back in the office come Tuesday and getting ready for the combine that's coming up and then getting ready for the draft. Pete made a good point too. Are they going to be able to rebuild as quickly as the Patriots did? Probably not. And when you start getting into these contracts where the cap is affected, this is where Howie Roseman becomes quite the genius, because Howie somehow, listen, the only good thing that came out of Chip Kelly was he made Howie a lot better, because once he came out of the basement, he was firing off on all cylinders. It was, I think it was ex-Madman on Q show. It was funny because he had made a comment and he said, you know who did this? I did. And I remember from ex-Madman putting that in one of the comments, and Howie did. Howie right now looks like the biggest genius in the NFL. And I'm surprised if 31 other teams had to reach out to him and say, listen, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to come join us over here. Jeffrey Lurie, and I think the last extension that Howie got was when Doug was here, which I believe was 7, if not 8 years. I'm quite sure he's probably going to take, Howie and talk to him the same way with Nick is, all right, guys, here. If we're going to run this back, you guys are both here. I would assume Nick would get a 3-year extension at minimum, at least. And Howie, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an additional 5 years here with this team.
Well, Howie was my MVP, but while I'm thinking of it, I'm wondering what time your appointment to go to the tattoo artist to get that Sirianni tattoo on your arm is.
And then never. It is not happening. You know what? That's a good point, though, because how many people have made bets about putting the opposing team's tattoo on them if their team loses? That would drive me bananas.
I think there was one out there where somebody had done a tattoo where it's either the Lions or the Bills already won the Super Bowl. So I don't know I guess they'll just change the year. I don't know.
Oof. I don't know. All I know is, again, it was just for not blitzing whatsoever. Vic Fangio looked like a genius, an absolute genius. And makes you wonder, like, second go around with the Eagles. And it's like, all right, does he have anything left in the tank? Well, apparently so. And for the Eagles to make a 16-1 run at the end of the year, I mean, only losing one to the Commanders, it was absolutely insane. Then the run they made during the playoffs, I think you asked me as well, like, which one was better, 2017 or this one? And I think even Pete had mentioned something about it this morning too. The only reason why I go with this one, and they're both even, believe me, because 52 years to wait for your first one felt like an eternity. This one was because this was another dynasty in the makes, and we were able to take away that one just like we did with the Patriots. So for me, even though the first one, we waited forever, I think this one is a lot better just because we beat another team in the makes of a dynasty. And like I said, it's not like the one thing I will say to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I heard all the different audios that they had during the week last week on Radio Row. Not one time did I hear Patrick Mahomes, showboat, show out, however you want to call it, nor Travis Kelce, nor Andy Reid. What I heard was the same confidence that they had when they were in Las Vegas. The only difference was they were now the new 49ers, but you would never hear in their talks. And then listening into Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and everyone else and listening to the confidence in their voice, it's just once there's a feeling that you have that some team is just going to ride off into the sunset and not look back or let you go. That's what we all felt. Leading up to the NFC Championship game, the 2017 feels were there, and we were absolutely right to think and say this was 2017 all over again. I know Jalen was upset 2 years ago, and it's tough. When you wear the number 1 jersey in the NFL, that's hard because you're telling everybody you're number 1, and now Jalen Hurts actually tells everyone now, yes, I am number 1, and forget you guys that didn't believe me because you guys thought I was no good. I can't throw over 30 yards. I can't throw over 40 yards. I'm not freaking good enough. I'm just a college kid. Well, he proved last night to everyone in front of millions, if not billions of folks around the world, because I'm sure even the Spanish broadcasters were out of their mind last night trying to call this game. But, hats off to Jalen Hurts, man. He is the real deal for Philly. And let's hope he gets healthy during the offseason. And now it's going to be how much are they going to pay Jalen Hurts? Again, you cannot go crazy on the numbers because we still have holes to fill because we all know this team is going to be dismantled just like 2017.
I have a lot of trust in Howie, and I think he could probably get something done. And I don't think there's too much to worry about, except for obviously the other teams. I think Washington's going to be up there. As far as a possible playoffs for next year, just looking ahead, which is a little crazy, but definitely Detroit will be in it. They're just too good not to be in it. And I think, as we mentioned, I think it was yesterday, I'm losing track here already, but I do believe that Dan Campbell should have been the coach of the year.
He should have been. For all the injuries that he had, 18, I think it was all together, to be able to do what he did, Dan Campbell should have been the coach of the year. He should have. And I know in a way, like a lot of these coaches, they don't like to be the coach of the year unless you end up walking away, with obviously at the very end of it, the one that you want the most, the Lombardi Trophy. But, you can't take away from Dan Quinn for what, not Dan Quinn, excuse me, Dan Campbell. And even Dan Quinn, too, for that matter, because he brought, and listen, Washington, bring back the Redskins, will you? Don't listen to Josh Harris. We're going to keep the Commanders. That's our culture. Everybody loves the culture on it. No, everyone loves the Redskins. Even Eagles fans love it when they were called the Redskins. Bring it back. Stop monkeying around with the whole Commanders thing. No one likes the Commander stuff, right? Just bring back the stuff that was historical, that we know we all loved. But no, Dan Campbell, I think if anybody, he's the same thing. He's got to build up his front office as well. He's got to bring up his coordinators. There's going to be some change in there. The only thing is, and only because this year's draft class, next year's draft class, more importantly, there's not heavy hitters coming out from the quarterback group. You got to figure out what can you do different with Jared Goff. Do you need a new QB coach? What do you need to do to make him better to stop the bleeding that, came down from him thanks to Washington? But Dan Campbell, he will line himself up to the point where they probably will end up being the favorites to at least be NFC champs.
Well, right now I'm not able to see any comments, but I'm curious to see what Jay has to say as far as that he thinks that the Lions will probably lose this year, because, intact right now, considering everything that happened with that team and as far as they went, I mean, to me, that's something to brag about, and it's the same thing with Washington from what they overcame and the way that, last year compared to this year. That's pretty amazing. So, I mean, Washington and Detroit have nothing to be sad about. I'd hate to be a Buffalo fan. That's all I would say.
Yeah.
They got to be pissed off just with the referees itself.
Yep. And they have to get better. No matter which way you look at it, they have to get better. The NFL, right. There's no way in the world you can't tell me you can't start an NFL university run by Troy Vincent. I know he already has a lot on his plate, but you got to do something. You're making billions upon billions of dollars, and you mean to tell me that somehow or another you can have an NFL university? So when these guys and girls are in there, and I know there's a handful that are permanently hired by the NFL. Everybody else comes in, you have to go through the ranks, end up, so many games in college before you get called up to the NFL. And then after that, they go back to their normal jobs. There's got to be a point in time where the NFL has to get everybody in sync. I don't care if it's from late hits, helmet to helmet hits, hip drop, flagrant fouls, and then all the bogus stuff that comes along with it. You have to, in order to make the product better, I understand right now, they're thinking about making an NFL Europe. And listen, whatever. They're going to get into the $1 trillion stratosphere. That's guaranteed. And we already know that the Eagles will end up in Australia 2027 to 2028, 1 or 2 against the Rams. But nonetheless, Roger Goodell has to do a much better job with the officiating. And they're going to have to, like everything else, they're going to have to go back and take a look at this tape here. And they'll figure out, like, wow, we really screwed that call up in the very beginning. But in order to make that happen, they're going to have to put a committee together and say, okay, maybe we can't, I don't know, let's say we can't pay, even though they can, we can't pay for 40 officials, or we'll pay for 20, and then the other 20 will basically be like the standbys or whatever the case may be, and we'll figure out how to rotate them and how to do this and that. But the officiating has got to get better for next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely has to. I mean, I do like what Pete brought up, I think it was last week, with the chip in the football to be able to determine where the spot of the ball is, because I know you even spoke about that last night. And, I mean, when you have two different officials with 2 different spots, that there's a problem right there. But, I mean, I get it. They're human. They make mistakes and everything. But when it's a big game, those mistakes need to be corrected.
Yeah, they do need to be. The only thing I was kind of surprised about last night, too, was that, we've always heard the music behind when they're walking up the Vince Lombardi Trophy. It wasn't even, there was no walk up. They basically put the stage, they put the trophy up there. Obviously, the stage was much bigger than it's ever been in the past, and it's not elevated, as high as it was either. But and then Roger Goodell, they didn't even have the mic completely ready for him. So I mean, you put on a 20-minute halftime show but you can't even walk the Lombardi Trophy the way it was walked before. So I don't understand what in the world made all of a sudden the NFL change that.
I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on the halftime show?
Okay, I've said this, that I'm not a fan of modern rap. I am very much old school. Some of the modern rap I understand, I get it, but I'm not well versed like a lot of folks. So if someone were to say to me, hey, by the way, do you know what his number one hit is? Don't know. And it's not to be a jerk, rude, or anything else like that. I'm just not that much into it. Granted, with all the work here, it makes it a little bit harder, but could have been. I think a lot of folks are putting way too many negative comments. I understand the one where his one dancer decided to go rogue and brought a Palestinian flag. That's on him. That was your dumb mistake. You again leave politics out of sports. But
he was arrested.
He sure was.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure was.
Yeah. I was surprised that even happened.
Yeah. But to me, I didn't think it was bad. Honestly, we were looking at it. I know Mike was talking a lot for the raffle, so we didn't get to hear a lot of the music, but I thought, to me, it was quite colorful. I think the way they did the costumes, I know they don't like to call them costumes and all, but I think overall the way the performance was, I thought it was good. The only thing I was trying to figure out was the sneakers that he was wearing almost kind of looked like a car from the front of it. Like it almost looked like a boxy pair, and that's if they were sneakers. I don't know exactly what kind of shoes they were, what kind of kicks they were, but I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I know everybody loved the car in the very beginning. Rightfully so. It was Grand National. I thought it was really freaking nice the way they did that as far as what we can see, but pardon me, I just think a lot of folks are being so critical, and no one's getting this. Everybody has their own favorite performer. Everybody knows this. There's a lot of us that love Prince's performance, and he did it in the rain. I thought that was great for him to do. But I just think there's a lot of people, you're not going to please everybody. And because things have changed so much, everybody's going to find a way to do this or do that. Gas Pump Guy says he thought it lacked energy, but listen.
I agree with that too. And I'm just sitting here wondering if they greased those light posts, those people climbed it to the top of. That's all. Because they made it to the very top,
They sure did. No, but listen, it's hard. Anybody knows. I mean, what was it? How many was it 2 years ago in Arizona? Which one was the one where they had, it was Eminem. Was it even a Super Bowl? Or was it one of the Grammys? No, I think it was a Super Bowl. They had Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent. When 50 came out, he was hanging upside down originally.
Right now, I can barely remember yesterday.
No, but I'm almost certain it was, and maybe Gas Pump Guy remembers it. By the way, speaking about stuff, when you forget something, right? Usually people say oh, I forgot, or you remember, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm not even going to put the network that said this. When people need to get the word miss out in front of everything else. Now, are you misinformed? Yep, that's been part of our vocabulary for years. Yeah, he said it was in L.A. I thought so. I thought it was the big one in first Super Bowl, but that was the one that had Snoop Dogg. I thought, because Snoop Dogg was just off camera and he was getting high as he usually does. And it was funny though, because it was always like the camera came on, I was like, ooh, let me put this out real quick. I thought that was pretty cool. And I know Eminem had issues because he wanted to make it about what was going on politically, which was kind of dumb. I mean, again, leave all that crap alone. If you're going to perform. Do what people know you for. And then he got mad because somebody else tried to use his music during the campaign. And I think if an artist, or if someone, I don't care if you're going for high school king or queen, if someone says to me, hey, by the way, can I use your music? Sure, why not? Because you're going to get more earballs than anything else listening, the people listening in. But you're not going to make any, everybody's just going to have a different taste. Everybody's going to think this, that, the other. It's fine. But with rap music, it makes it makes it hard to be able to put, like an explosive performance. I thought wasn't Rihanna last year? I'm almost certain. Gasper guy, you're gonna have to help me out with this one.
All I remember was Justin Timberlake in our Super Bowl against the Patriots. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Well,
was that Snoop Dogg sitting next to us last night? That's what I want to know.
I think so. I think he left from New Orleans, came right next to us because that's exactly what it felt like.
He was a lot of fun, wasn't he?
He was hysterical. He's like, man, all I want to do is get a taxi and leave. I keep saying it. I just want to get a taxi and leave. He was so much fun. He was.
He gave you a lot of hugs, buddy. A lot of hugs.
He did. It was good folks. It was a lot of good people. The cowbell last night. I mean, I know there was a lot of ringing the cowbell. I think even she got tired at the very end of it, ringing it because again, you'd have to. The dog that was there, he was pooped out. She was pooped out. Yeah. So
that dog was done.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. Gasping guy says he believes that was last year too. I'm almost certain what Rihanna was last year, and it was funny because a lot of people had a problem with that one. One was, and I think a lot of us didn't know she was pregnant because it looked like it when she came on stage, and then there were people saying, no, that's not true. That's the way the costume was. I thought it was great, but you had people saying, oh, it was so distasteful, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, you're not. If next year, if it was a country music artist, guaranteed people are going to be like, oh, why did they have to put country there? Listen, or you know what? If not, why doesn't the NFL, just to appease people, just say, listen, we have 5 random performers and we're not going to play it. You guys watch it on YouTube. Pick the one you think is the best. Let us know come Monday. Because that's where it's really getting down to. The only other thing was that for $8 million, first of all, I think it's absolutely insane that you're paying $8 million to the NFL for what, less than a 5-minute commercial or 2 minutes, however long it friggin' was. But you got to think about like how much money did you have to make? And I think you said this last night too, Rick. There's like how much money do you have to make back in order to pay off for that commercial itself? I mean, WeatherTech, I know they had the 4 ladies in the car or whatever, but WeatherTech has made money. My wife was letting me know on the way back how much they blew up. But is it worth spending on top of already what you have to spend for the production value anyways to make the video or the commercial? $8 million. I mean, that has become really ridiculous by the NFL.
It is crazy. It's the same way the price of a Super Bowl ticket is. That's crazy. You saw the number when the Super Bowl first started, obviously a long time ago, but it is definitely crazy.
It is. And you talk about, they mentioned about the Super Bowl before, and last time you had brought it up, I think it was like maybe a half hour, an hour before the game started, where it had gone down to $2,500. But you would imagine you spend, let's say you're a Kansas City fan, 2 tickets, you're looking at $10,000. That's before tax, tags, title, airfare, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. So let's just say a run, because there were also rooms and I know this is not the NFL's fault. I'm not going to blame the NFL for this. Because again, they're in it to make money. They're like insurance companies. They're in it to win it. They're not in it to lose. Some places were charging in essence of $3,000 to $4,000 per night for a hotel room. So let's just say it's just you and your girl, 2 tickets. You're damn near almost spending close to, I don't know, $25,000 for 4 or 5 days. And then you go and you hope you win the big game and then you lose. First of all, I wouldn't be spending that kind of money anyways, unless, I was some crazy, if I'm Jeff Bezos where I know I'm going to make that money back in less than 2 seconds, all right, I'm good. Other than that, there's no friggin' way in the world would I be spending that amount of money just to go watch my team win.
Well, I mean, there's people out there that, some of them I remember when the Eagles played against the Patriots, and some people, they couldn't afford to go. And I guess they thought to themselves, this may be my only opportunity. So they were going to take advantage. You only live once, as they say, and more power to them. Maybe I can afford a ticket today. I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is that
game's over, I can afford it.
If you're the Chiefs fan, you got to think like, all right, you know what? We've this 3 times in a row. We've been there. We lost the 3rd one. Maybe I need not to be spending that kind of money because when eggs are starting to cost as much as a Super Bowl entrance ticket, there's a problem. There's a big problem. Because
I'm wondering how like you mentioned before how when you were on Radio Row last year and the prices of food were outrageous and everything. I'm just wondering how it was for New Orleans, as far as purchasing things. I know you said the rooms were expensive, and obviously tickets are always going to be expensive, but I'm just wondering what it was like for the experience in New Orleans versus Las Vegas.
I mean, it's not the, I guess, to me, again, just my own value opinion, there's a little more, there's definitely more things to do in Vegas. The one thing that I was kind of disappointed with Vegas last year was the convention center. I thought they did an outstanding job. The way they laid everything out, it was spaced enough where you'd be able to do so. Now, when it came time where you can get an autograph, that looked like a herd. Meaning, like it looked like they just put all the animals in the herd. And when they opened up the gate, granted, nobody rushed it because everybody was being cordial and respectful and stuff. But the line to get an autograph was, I think if you were the 50th person in line, you can forget about it. Because if you were waiting for your favorite athlete to get a signature from, that was a wrap. You weren't getting it. What I was disappointed about in Vegas, you would have thought, like, Vegas puts on some amazing shows. There's a lot of people that end up being residents there for a couple of months so they can, put on a great performance. I honestly thought you have the whole strip. You could have decorated it. It's so much fun. It was the first time ever. Like, I just think they could have done so much more. And when I went to Walgreens to pick up a case of water, and I left at a hotel that we were staying at, which was at the Excalibur, I was completely blown away to think, like, this is it? Like, there was more for the racing that's done with the Indy League than it was with the Super Bowl. Because you looked around, it's like, wow, you guys really, like, you mean it with all the money that you guys are making? There was literally on either side of the walkways, it was just, Super Bowl 58, almost like, yeah, we know it's going to be back here again, so we're not going to put all our eggs in one basket. And that's why I think New Orleans, when they were there last year, I will say, I don't think I've heard anyone, as far as on the media, complain, because last year was a complete mess. You couldn't get coffee. There were no freaking donuts for those who like donuts. There was the pastries, like, literally, if there were like 10 pastries in 2 baskets, once those were out, they were like, yeah, sorry, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. There's over 500 people in this building. And you mean to tell me you only brought out 10 pastries for 500 folks? If it wasn't because of Bounty being there with their wings, that was the only thing that was free. Water was free, obviously, and coffee, but the coffee didn't stay around all day long. They filled it up twice. The one morning, honest to God, Rick, we waited until 9 a.m. and the excuse was because the union said there weren't enough people. The coffee was out by 9:15 and they never replenished it. That was it. The water was gone that day. It was insane. But from what I understand, New Orleans got a really good review as far as when it comes to the media. The only thing is that, yes, you can go around New Orleans, you can enjoy it. But honestly, if I'm going to go somewhere, and I've never been to New Orleans, I would love it. I thought it would be a great opportunity. I think Bourbon Street, after day 2, was like, all right, been there, done that. What else can I see? And everything else, I mean, you got to figure, if you're going to take an Uber, Lyft, or anywhere else to any parts around New Orleans, you're going to be paying money because everything was jacked up by like 50, if not 70%.
And these cities have a whole year to prepare for it, if not longer. And I think about the Las Vegas issues that you guys had last year, but then I was up in Jacksonville. I think it was 2005. What a mess that was. I mean, you would think that they would have plenty of time to get everything together, but the infrastructure just wasn't set up for a Super Bowl. And then having people, sleep in cruise ships, Carnival cruise ships out on the water, that was really strange. And I don't know if they're ever going to even go back there.
So, well, supposed, alleged, we use it loosely. The reason why they're doing the upgrades to Jacksonville is to be able to host another Super Bowl, which may not be anytime soon. But since that Super Bowl, there's been more hotels been put around. But and again, just in our opinion, because we're down here in Florida, I don't think you still have enough rooms to be able to handle, as many, like Tampa, it's different. Tampa, there's tons of places to stay. And even if you stay on the outskirts of Tampa, you're not that far away from going in there. Then you have downtown, you got Ybor City. If you guys, if people want, they can go over to St. Pete. In Jacksonville, they could potentially do it, but I think they said it's going to be a long ways away from that happening. Then there's rumors saying that they may only use certain venues every, not every year, but, every other year. So like, let's say New Orleans was the host one, which they were. Next year being Santa Clara. I'm not certain yet because I don't think they've announced it yet. Who would be, usually it normally goes East Coast, West Coast, Central. And then it rotates around. Now, the only time we got screwed up was the one with Tom Brady and them winning here in Tampa, only because the Rams weren't ready yet. And that's how Tampa got awarded that one. And then obviously went to LA and then now being over New Orleans, next year being Santa Clara. So I don't know if either the Cowboys would end up being the host team. The Texans were not too long ago, but they were saying they basically want to bring it down to 4 or 5 stadiums because logistically it would make more sense to the NFL and the people that are trying to put their committees together and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think the NFL, do they get things wrong? Yes, we all know this. No one can deny that. Do they get things wrong? They do. Do they try to make things a little bit better? They do. I will give them that much. And you can see because of the host committee that was there last year in Vegas. So the NFL really tries to do something where they can give the fans the best experience. But the only thing is, and that makes it really hard for fans is that, you're looking at like today, the ticket sales will go up for Super Bowl 60. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be big and monumental over there in Santa Clara. And I have no idea what's even over on that side. Because if I'm in Santa Clara, I'm not traveling to downtown Los Angeles to do stuff. So I don't know what's in that area. But you got to figure for $5,000 for a ticket, that's a big part of your budget just for the ticket alone.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of money. I have to find my way out of these woods in just a moment here. But my last comment that I wanted to make is your thoughts on if the NFL came up with a consolation game. In other words, if the first game that you saw during the Super Bowl Sunday would be like, for instance, this year, Buffalo and Detroit. What do you think of that?
That may not be bad. That's almost like someone saying about the Pro Bowl, that it should almost be like that. Like you shouldn't even have flag football. It should just be, you would definitely have fans for sure to travel. And now, okay, that's a really good point. Because
it may have to be at a different venue because then again, there may not be enough hotel rooms for everybody, to be able to stay. But just an idea. And I thought, I would have loved to have seen Detroit and Buffalo play this year.
All right, but you bring up a good point, but I wonder, So let's just say it was, so would the better record team would be the host one. So would you then keep it in the elements? Meaning that obviously, let's say if it happened to be Buffalo, how many people would actually attend it if it was back in Buffalo? Obviously, Bill's Mafia is absolutely nuts. They wouldn't care. They go out there and deep freeze temperatures. So that's not bad. That's a good thought.
Replace the Pro Bowl. Replace the Pro Bowl and put that game in there instead. That's all.
Yeah, and I think if you start tweaking things too much, you're going to start turning the fans away. I hate to say it, but they're going to turn away because there was, as many positive things that were said about the Pro Bowl, there was also the negative to follow. And, some people don't care for the skills competition. Some people don't care for like Thursday night. Some people don't even care about the flag football. I thought for me, the guys are just having fun and they're looking at it like this isn't meaningful. We're not putting on the pads. We're just out here to have fun with each other. And if to me, if all they want to do is just have the flag football without all the other parts in between, I think it would be okay. The problem is if you don't want to do it in Orlando next season, do you keep it on the East Coast, go to Miami? Because right now, as expensive as things are, and I think the NFL knows this too, if you take this back to Hawaii next year, I'm sorry, you're not going to have as big as a crowd as there was at Camping World Stadium because you won't be able to afford between the ticket, hotel, food, the whole 9 yards, because everything in Hawaii is imported.
Well, yeah, I mean, the money, I don't, like you said, everything is going to be more expensive. I do like the fact, as far as logistics, being in Orlando, there are other things that people can do. You've got all the parks there. You've got International Drive. You just have so many things you can do. And obviously the weather's perfect. Not that the weather isn't good in Hawaii all year, but to go down there, I think it was, what was it this year? You were there, a little cloudy, but it was pretty warm, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was warm. I mean, it could have been a little bit warmer, but no, it was warm enough for me at least. I didn't have to have a jacket. It was cloudy. That was the only thing that kind of stunk. Sunday was better. The sun ended up coming out, so it was a lot better on Sunday versus Saturday. Even though Saturday it looked at one point like it was going to rain, Sunday, but it was warm enough. I will put it. Even at the end of the game, it was still warm enough. So it was. I don't think anybody had an issue as far as the weather because the last time they played, it rained. Everybody knew, which is kind of weird here in Florida. Normally, the not rain season becomes a rain season only on Pro Bowl weekend. But no, I think if they keep tweaking it, they're just going to lose more fans. Again, that's just my dumb opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they've already tweaked it to where it's a flag football game, and I think a lot of people are disappointed in that. But then, who knows? Maybe there's some people that like it. I guess the festivities before that are more popular than the actual game itself. It's almost just like a pickup game, it seems like, and these guys are all pros, so that's what you're looking for to see how they handle an actual, game with hitting each other. But it is what it is. And, whatever the NFL decides, I guess we can decide whether we want to go or not.
Yep. So true. We'll see.
Anyway, with that, I want to just say thank you for all you do with the network and everything. I enjoy every show that you guys have. I especially enjoyed Q's commentary yesterday. The youngster.
Yeah.
That guy was good. What's his name? Ryan?
Ryan. Yep.
Yeah, that guy was really good. And everybody, Tampa Joe's staff, Philly of the South, Michelle, Mike, all those guys, the service was excellent. And if anybody ever decides to come down here, you got to stop in there, especially during football season. And I know that the Phillies they'll be down here pretty much any day, I guess. And I expect to see more Eagles jerseys on than Phillies, I guess, this spring training season, and probably hear more of the Eagles chants than ever before. But I will be at the 17th game in March. So if you're going to be around, I'll look for you.
All righty. That sounds good. No
Everybody
problem.
have a great day, and go Birds.
Go Birds, Rick. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right. There goes Rick. Duncan Dad says, and speaking about, if you guys have not heard a story, Duncan Dad got a bonus, which is actually great as I'm going to get ready to wrap up the show here. But he says, on the way home from NOLA, Bourbon Street was mild compared to Broad Street from what I've seen. Philly just goes hard. I think, too, because of, what went on down there in New Orleans. It makes it a little bit tough. It really makes it tough. So I think they just kind of scaled it back. And, I mean, I can't blame them for taking safety first more than anything else. But have a safe trip, Duncan Dad. For those who don't know, he went down there to do some coverage for himself, some coverage for the Coastal Sports Network. He was fortunate when they were doing the transition in between when the guys were on stage and then they were getting ready to go down to what they call like the makeshift booth. They grabbed him and I believe it was his stepson, if I remember correctly, one of the two. But anyways, he was surprised when Swoop came with 2 pairs of tickets. And so they were there. Lucky Duncan Dad, where he was able to see not only the game itself live, but then to be able there to celebrate with everybody. So hopefully he grabs some confetti from the field somewhere. I know it probably didn't happen, but hopefully he grabs some and then he can just airmail it my way. But listen, thanks to you all. We do appreciate it. Thank you to the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni. As much of a hard time that I give him, but thanks to Nick Sirianni, thanks to our Birds, somehow or another they find a way to do so. They win for the second time in team history, and we do appreciate everyone who took the time to have fun, especially out there at Tampa Joe's. Once again, Mike Goodwin and Philly to South crew. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, later on today with the Drive with Q, who will be back today at 4, and Q will not be happy. He already let me know he's not going to be happy, but Q is back. He'll be back at 4 o'clock, and then later on, it'll be B's World at 6, as Duncan Dad finishes it off when he says, go Birds, and yes, indeed, go Birds. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy yourselves, and make sure you take care of one another. We'll talk to you soon.